Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular City Council meeting of November 1st. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Fish.
Here.
Councilmember Mann.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist.
Here.
Mayor Yu.
Here. Tonight, invocation will be led by Pastor Darrell Kelty from Community of Christ Church at 9468 Broadway. Pastor Kelty been a pastor for 9+ years. He worked with a team of ordained men and women to lead the congregation. Well, I'm the only one sitting down, huh? Community of Christ Church shares a building with Praise Christian Church, a Chinese-speaking congregation with Ministerio Cristiano Santa Divita, a Spanish-speaking congregation. The Temple City Homeless Coalition of Churches also sponsors a Thanksgiving lunch, which we open and free of charge to any and everyone who shows up. Dinner's on November 19th from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the First United Methodist Church, 5957 Golden West Avenue, Temple City. And for information, call 626-386-3129. Pastor, please lead us in prayer.
Always happy to be here. Our divine Creator, we reach out to your Spirit this evening to enlighten our minds. As individuals, as a corporate body, we see before us many questions that need to be answered. But we too recognize that the answers to those questions are often beyond our understanding and therefore our means of solving them on our own. It is for this reason that we reach out to you this evening. We ask for your patience and wisdom to be able to look beyond the obvious and to be able to search for those answers that will direct us and this body to make this city a better place for all who live in it. We see conflicting agendas and goals that let us see that there are many ways and means of reaching our desired ends, that of a better city and a community. We see that there are before us many different paths, some easy, some hard, that will direct us to where we want to be. We confess that we ourselves need your help to achieve those goals and agendas, and that we cannot do it through ourselves, but only through your Spirit, which is always with us. May we be willing to listen, that we might hear those clues that you give us that will direct us where you want us to go. It is for this reason we ask this evening that you might open our minds to your Spirit, that as a community we might, for future generations, build a place where every individual within that community might live and live to their very best. For your guidance, we thank you. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you, Pastor. I won't forget this time. Ceremonial matters. Presentation, there is none. Next item is public comments. We have one speaker request. Ms. Jen Lee with the library.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is
Good
Jeannie
evening.
from Temple City Library. I'm here to talk about our November program. And tomorrow is a big day for the library. And please join us tomorrow from 1 to 3 for the library future expansion celebration ceremony to thank our Supervisor Antonovich and also Temple City support for the library's expansion. So after the ceremony, we have science, technology, engineering, and the math activity planned for the children as well. And also thanks Temple City to provide the refreshment for the events. And I'm also very happy to announce Temple City was selected to be one of the screening sites for the Chinese American Film Festival. So on Saturday, November 12th and November 26th, we are going to screen two Chinese film for the public from 2 to 4. And all this film has the English subtitle. And our adults painting night, and by popular demand, is coming back. So the next painting nights for adults will be Wednesday, November 9th, from 6 to 7:30. So come to the library, relax, and create your own masterpiece. And all the material will be provided. And also on Saturday, November 19, we'll also have a teen SAT practice test. So that's going to be 9:45 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So if any high schooler wants to practice their SAT, please come to the library. And this one, you need to register in advance. And also, starting this month, every Monday we have a parent and child workshop. That's for the parents and caregivers for children age 0 to 3. So the children can play in the meeting room while the parents can talk to a variety of community specialists regarding their question about early childhood issues. So all these programs are free. So if you need more information, please go to our website, www.colapublib.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, you, council members, city staff, my name is Steve Stafford. I went over to Supercuts last week and discovered something that to me is very dangerous. Half of the shopping center has no lights at night. You go back deep behind Pep Boys and it's totally dark. I mean, it was so dark. I'm looking this way and you can't even see where the end of that parking lot is. You know, you could have some homeless people back there. You could, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. I saw lights there that weren't even working in some areas. Some areas look like it's so dark you can't tell if there were lights in there working at one time. It's that bad. Half of that parking lot were Supercuts. It's on the southwest corner of Broadway and Rosemead. And, you know, you got Pep Boys there, you got some restaurants, you got Supercuts. As soon as you get to Supercuts and you go about from here to the wall down, the rest of that parking lot, it's about half of the parking lot is dark.
Have you
Pitch
tried
black.
talking to the owner while you were there?
I don't even know who the owner is.
Well,
You know,
he's
if I knew,
Supercut.
I would talk to him, but it scares me to see it that dark there, because it's a tragedy waiting to happen. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Anyone else? I'll close public comments. Next item is consent calendar. All items may be approved in a single motion as recommended, unless we move for discussion.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
A second?
It's moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fish?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist?
Yes.
Mayor Yu?
Yes. So the consent calendar has been approved. Next item is public hearing. There is none. Unfinished business, there is none. And here we have one new business, which is the adoption of urgent ordinance number 16-1017U, prohibiting the cultivation, processing, manufacturing, laboratory testing, labeling, storing, and wholesale and retail distribution of cannabis. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor Yu and members of the council. Mr. Forbes will give a brief overview of this measure, but in light of both being consistent with the existing prohibitions you have related to commercial activity related to cannabis and distribution and cultivation, with the pending proposition coming forward, we thought it was important for you to consider an urgency ordinance related to the measure as it applies to Prop 84. Thank you.
Okay, Director Ford.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Very quick background to kind of frame the issue. As the council may remember, back in 2015, the state adopted a number of bills rather, that were collectively known as the Medical Marijuana Regulation and Safety Act, that put a framework in place for the regulation of medical marijuana. In response to that, the City Council earlier this year adopted an ordinance that goes as far as we can under state law to prohibit all commercial activities related to medical marijuana. Our code currently does not address recreational marijuana because that was illegal at the time we brought that ordinance to you, so there was no reason to include that. As Mr. Cook indicated, next week voters are going to be considering Proposition 64, which is the Control, Regulate, and Tax Adult Use of Marijuana Act, which would put a system in place across the state very similar to what is already in place for medical marijuana, but it would be for recreational marijuana. So it would legalize the recreational use and would put a regulatory system in place for the cultivation and distribution and sale of recreational marijuana. A number of cities either already have or are in the process of adopting moratoriums in anticipation of this ballot measure being adopted. We are recommending that we again go as far as we are allowed to go under the proposed law, which would be at least on a temporary basis right now to prohibit all commercial activities related to recreational marijuana. We cannot, under the law, prohibit the personal use or personal cultivation of marijuana, but we can prohibit all of the related commercial activities. The moratorium pursuant to state law, if adopted by a 4/5 vote of the council, would be in place for 45 days, and then we would come, assuming that Prop 64 passes, we would come back to you in December to have the moratorium further extended for up to 1 year, and that would give staff and the city attorney's office time to look at what happens if Prop 64 is adopted, look at what other cities are doing and what the legal community is recommending, and then we would come back to you sometime later next year with a proposed set of permanent regulations to replace the moratorium, either just carrying the moratorium forward on a permanent basis or some other regulatory scheme that we might recommend. But this will give us the time to look at that and make sure that we don't have a bunch of businesses lining up trying to open here should Proposition 64 pass. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to open up for public comments. Anyone? Oh, yes, Mr. Stephan, you have a speaker request.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist, council members, city staff, real fast, I think we need to do this moratorium for a lot of reasons. We have homeless people getting a hold of this marijuana with spice on it, and I've seen it myself several times. And I think when we do come back to this, we need to have the regulations real set forth, so if somebody violates it, it can be enforced. You know, this is already a problem in this city, and it really needs to, we need to come back, the moratorium is perfect, and then come back with some regulations when they open up these shops that they have to go by. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So we'll close public comments. Council comments.
No, I have nothing, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just actually have one question. I guess by definition, is there a difference between recreational and, I guess, cultivating it at a residence, or are they the same thing?
You, currently under the medical marijuana law, you can, I believe you can cultivate it, you cannot cultivate it.
Not anymore. Those, what you're thinking of is the personal cultivation limit of like 12 immature plants, 6 mature plants. It used to be allowed under IMSA, the medical marijuana laws. Those were overturned by the courts, but the Prop 64 now includes a provision that is just like that and will prohibit us from prohibiting anyone from growing or maintaining 6 live plants, I believe it's 6 live
Yeah.
plants per person,
You can have, yeah,
per adult.
up to 6 plants per person. We are allowed, and this moratorium includes a prohibition on outdoor cultivation. So we are allowed to prohibit that, at least for the time being, but we cannot prohibit indoor cultivation of up to 6 plants for personal use. So so currently for medical purposes, you cannot, but for recreational purposes now, under Prop 64, you would be able to have your own plants, or you could either purchase it at a, purchase marijuana product at a store or grow your own.
Okay.
And we cannot prohibit within city limits somebody from growing their own indoors,
Indoors, okay.
up to 6 plants.
All right, thank you.
Eric, is that 6 plants per person in the household, or 6 plants per person who hold some type of medical license in the household?
Under Prop 64, it doesn't have anything to do with holding a license or a prescription or anything, or an ID card for medical marijuana. It's 6 adults, doesn't count children, who occupy the home.
Up
or the
to 6
dwelling.
adults?
No.
Plants?
But it's 6 plants per adult.
Per adult.
Per adult.
Occupying the dwelling. Now, they have to
So-
be legally occupying the dwelling.
So if you have 10 people in a home, they can have 60
I
plants?
suppose if you have 10 adults legally occupying a dwelling, that they could have that many plants inside. Now, I don't know. Those are one of the questions under the new measure that will have to be tested, but that's kind of read literally what it would say.
Oh.
And for the purposes of Prop 64, they define an adult as 21 years or older, not 18, just FYI.
That would have to have proof of residency, being in that house.
Well, that's probably reading something into the measure that I don't know that's there. But it is, I think, a logical extension that if
Right.
you're going to
Have to,
be able to raise marijuana, you have to be living in the dwelling legally.
Legally, it's, I think it's very flexible,
Thank you.
that term. You know, what do
Oh,
you
it's
mean
gonna
legally?
be a
You could be
nightmare to enforce.
undocumented, but yet you have a lease. Well, is that
Yes.
legal or not legal?
What
I
a-
mean, that's a
yeah,
whole
what a
different
mess.
areas of discussion, so. Any other comment? Well, I just want to make one comment. I want to thank the city attorney and Mr. Forbes and the city manager for taking proactive action. I mean, seeing that this is likely coming before the voters and likely passing, so taking proactive action and putting this in front of us, I think I want to thank you for that. So I definitely support what's before us, but I just want to go out to thank you, all of you. So with that, I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I would make a motion that we introduce, read by title, waive further reading, and adopt urgency ordinance number 16-1017U to temporarily prohibit the cultivation, processing, manufacturing, laboratory testing, labeling, storing, and wholesale and retail distribution of cannabis.
Second?
Is moving second to the Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fish?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist?
yes.
Mayor Yu?
Yes, so the urgent ordinance has passed, and I guess will take immediate effect.
And
And
we will
we'll
be
be-
coming back to you within 45 days for an extension to that for 1 year. And we'll see how things play out over time.
All right,
Thank
thank you,
you.
appreciate it. Next item is communications, there is none. An update from Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, you members of the councils, good evening. One thing that's already been mentioned, as our community librarian Jing has mentioned, the ceremony we will have tomorrow. Chief Deputy Catherine Barger will be presenting a check for $1.95 million, and subsequent to our contribution later, I believe the CEO of the county will be there and a few other dignitaries as well. So we're looking forward to that event.
Do we have an
And,
agenda for that yet, or is it just kind of,
you should have, we'll make sure you have the agenda by tomorrow morning.
it starts at 1, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Then the other big event we will have is on November 11th. we are making great progress, and we will have as close to a complete project as we can on November 11th. You can see some of the progress that's been made over the last week.
Wait, we were told it was going to be complete by November.
We are doing our best to be 100% complete. If we're 99.9, you know, we'll get there.
I poked my head in there today. It looks pretty nice.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Beautiful.
It's going to be impressive in a community. We are very proud of that
Looking forward to it.
of that structure and representing our appreciation to the our veterans throughout the community. And lastly, there has been a lot of activity. I want to congratulate our LA County Sheriff's Department. In the last few weeks, we've had a rash of activity related to residential burglaries. It was reported to you during the last law enforcement meeting. Last week and a half or so, things have died down. It seems like we've caught a few people that may have been doing some crews around town. So again, compliment to our partner, even though we are a contract city, LA County Sheriff's Department, as all of our city attorney, our fire department, we're all partners in this process of governing the city and providing the services to the city. So, and I know Deputy Zuniga, who's serving as Sergeant at Arms right now, is usually out on those proactive patrols, and we saw a nice decrease this week, and hopefully it will stay consistent for that as we go through the holiday season. So thank you to them.
All right, thank you. Any updates from Mr. City Attorney?
Mayor, I do actually have a topic I'd like to take maybe 5 minutes or so
Sure,
and brief the
please.
council on. I think it's timely. A number of cities have had issues with what I'll characterize as large charitable donation bins. Everybody's familiar with the small donation bin that you might have put clothes or shoes or something in, and you're probably also familiar with the much larger recycling bins that look like a semi-truck that's usually in a parking lot someplace. Well, there is a trend of having donation bins be that same size that are just plunked down without permits in your commercial facilities that are charitable donation bins. And this has come about slowly but accelerated in 2015. So many years ago, the Supreme Court said that charitable donations are a protected activity under the First Amendment. And then in 2009, there was a court in the Fifth Circuit Federal Court of Appeal that determined that a charitable donation bin was more than just a mere collection point. It actually was, they called it a silent solicitor and advocate for the particular charitable. And that activity, the essence of it being there, was free speech and was a protected activity. In 2015, the 6th District Court of Appeal determined that it wasn't just silent, but donation bins actually speak, and that the conduct that they represent, the solicitation and communication that they represent for their charity, is protected under the First Amendment. And there was some dicta, which in lawyer speak means language in the case that wasn't necessarily germane to the decision of the case, but the court said it anyway, that groups with very large donation bins have latched onto to say, cities, you can't regulate us at all. And so now a number of cities and a couple of our clients have had issues in particular with a group called Green Education Foundation, who put donation bins in commercial parking lots, take up 3 or 4 parking spaces, and conduct their activities under auspice of these cases claiming you can't regulate us at all. The good news is that in at least 3 different trial courts in California, we have prevailed against their motion for preliminary injunctions. In one case, this group went in, didn't even seek to file a permit, and the court threw their suit out saying, even though your conduct might be covered by free speech, you have to go through the permit process. In an action that my office is handling just the other day, we got a preliminary injunction denied in which the business came in, started to operate without a permit. We encouraged them to go through the same permit process that we use for recycle bins. And essentially that means they have to go through and get a conditional use permit to operate because these have visual impacts, they have aesthetic impacts, they take up parking in sites that can be very, very tight to begin with. The court in our case ruled that these businesses do have to get permits, that it's a right to have a content-neutral, time, place, manner restriction that has some discretion involved in it, and that we can look at aesthetic concerns. In the cases that I've referred to, usually the problem with the bins were material was allowed to accumulate outside of the bin. It wasn't tended, it wasn't secured, people were freely pillaging the bins, they hadn't maintained them very well, there was an accumulation of trash, and frankly, it took up a lot of parking that wasn't planned for. So I think this is going to be a developing area of the law. Before long, we will probably have either a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal decision on it or a California Court of Appeal decision with regard to these charitable donation bins. But I'm hopeful that we will continue to be able to insist that they follow our regulations that are similar for recycled bins or that are related to other donation bins, and that the courts will uphold our reasonable regulations of them. If not, then they get to go in wherever they want to, and we can't regulate them. And that would be a real difference than how the courts have treated other free speech protected activities like adult businesses or massage. We still regulate them, but we have to be kind of content neutral, time, place, manner, special licensing procedure. Think about sign, sign permit. We can still regulate signs, we just can't regulate the content. Happy to address any of your questions, but I just wanted to bring that up to you and let you know that that's something that's working through the planning and legal world right now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that update. Council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Any reports from anyone? No. So moving on, council items separate from the city manager's regular agenda. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Just a couple of things. Just want to congratulate Director Burrows and her staff for a great holiday weekend with the events at Live Oak Park, the health fair on Saturday, and the what name do we call it on Monday? Halloween Carnival. It was a little bit different this year because of the walking path, but I think people adapted and everybody seemed to be having a great time. So good weather and
Good attendance.
great attendance, yeah. Very good. So thank you for doing that.
Councilmember Fish.
I too would like to congratulate Kathy and her staff. A wonderful turnout. Do we know if it's been larger? If it's larger than in the past years, or do we have any numbers?
About the same, we're estimating about 1,000.
Well, it was
That's a lot of people.
very exciting. Yes, very, very exciting. Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist and I, we attended the senior lunch, the Halloween senior lunch, which is always a lot of fun. So we wanted to thank Roman. He always does a great job with that. And just a couple of reminders, this Saturday is the Chamber of Commerce Gala. It is,
It's this Saturday?
yes, it's this Saturday. And can you please pronounce the name of the restaurant for me, someone?
Kang Ho Dong Baek Jong.
Thank you. It's there.
Oh, yeah.
Starting at 6 o'clock, you can contact the chamber to purchase tickets. And then also get out and vote. We have a lot of things coming up this next week. Very exciting, lots of things. And that's about it.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Min.
Yeah, great event last night. We got there a little bit late, but it was still packed. And we left maybe around 8:45, and there were still people coming in. And there were there was a group of there was a family that came in and asked us, "Hey, is it about to end?" I'm like, just go. Everything's still up and going as far as I was
Maybe get more
concerned.
candy that way.
Yeah, and so you know,
That's good.
Jerry was there taking photos, and he gave me a picture, so thank you, Jerry. But yeah, wonderful event, and I'm very excited to see such a great attendance at that. And hopefully my son, when he gets older enough to remember, he'll actually remember that
Enjoy
he
it.
was
I'm sure he
dressed
will.
as Peter Pan. But anyway, the other thing I'm really excited about is the check cutting ceremony tomorrow for the library. I think that really is a culmination of a lot of the work that you know, Mayor Pro Tem has done and the rest of council has supported. So very excited for that and glad that it's happening before the election day, at least, you know, with the Board of Supervisors and all that. And just one other thing, there was that grand opening for the restaurant that took over Zen
Oh, quick.
Buffet.
Cubake.
Cubake.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Councilmember Fish and Mayor Pro Tem and I were able to
And
stop
Brian.
by,
And
and
Brian.
City Manager Cook
was very nice.
was there, and very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Very
it was
interesting.
unlike anything we've ever had before. It's I guess the way I would describe it is they cook everything with a steamer. So it's almost like a hot pot, but they were trying to advertise it as being more clean and sanitary and
healthy.
And healthy. There's like no oils and they did a really great job on the interior. Like if you ever been in Zen Buffet, it felt kind of cluttered and it seemed like they weren't really maintaining the place as well as some other restaurants were. And this is, I guess, it's a refreshing new look. So I'm personally very excited that they're there, and hopefully everyone gets a chance to at least give it a try before you ding it. So I mean, I was skeptical at first because from the outside you couldn't really tell what they were making, but once you try, you're like, hey, that's kind of neat. And we also asked the owner sort of what inspired them to do that particular cuisine, and I guess they had some experiences from China that they kind of brought over and thought that they've never seen that being done here in the States. And as far as they were concerned and we were concerned, we can't think of another restaurant that has that same style
Never.
of cuisine. So an interesting experience. That's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. Councilmember Fish and I attended the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments General Assembly, and it was, had a lot of good topics, but the bottom line from Eric Garcetti and Judy Chu and others who spoke was to vote in favor of Measure M, the transportation measure, and it seemed to be that was the general theme as to how the San Gabriel Valley will really profit from the funding for that measure. I can't recall, was there anything else that you took away from that?
No.
It seemed like every
Not really.
speaker spoke
it
to
was
that
all-
issue, and
yeah.
even though the topics were listed on the agenda as a little bit different, all the focus was really on Measure M. If you need any guidance for voting, you can go onto the Metro website, and they have a huge explanation of the measure, all the monies that will go to each of the different regions. So it's pretty informative. If you're not sure how you'd like to vote on that measure, you can go on to the Metro website.
That's a Metro-sponsored.
It is a
proposition.
Metro-sponsored proposition. Okay. And it seems to be supported by
Everybody.
all the cities in the San Gabriel Valley. I think the group that I have found that has had the most difficulty with it was the gateway cities. And just because a lot of the funding there was pushed back to it's over a 40-year period, and they were promised that whatever programs they had in the pipeline, you wouldn't be pushed down as far as years go. But now they found that the projects that were up on the top are going to take longer. So they're not really going to get a lot done anytime
I think
soon.
the South Bay cities.
And South Bay
Gables,
also.
Yeah, I think the thought was that it benefit us seemingly, the ones that are more to the north. The concern, at least speaking for them, was, or repeating what they were expressing, not so much for them, is that by the time the money is collected and spent on our projects, there'll be too much, then the upkeep and maintenance will eat up the rest of it, so their fear is that they will never get anything.
Right.
Right.
And I think one of the things you should keep in mind when you go to vote is that the Measure M really will help with deferred maintenance. MetroLink is so far behind in upgrading and, just tracks and cars. We have to keep the Gold Line being, it's so successful, but it has to be maintained. And just because we have something that's wonderful doesn't mean that we're going to continue to have that if we don't put money into the maintenance. So it seems like it is a worthwhile measure, but if you have any questions, go and take a look. They have a hotline number where you can call, and they have people from Metro answering questions also.
Yeah.
One other thing was Eric Garcetti, when he spoke at the General Assembly, said that there's so many measures and the ballot book is so thick that every individual should start with their local government and work backwards from the back of the ballot, which is going to be your local government issues, and then make your way to president. So just throwing that out there. When I looked at my ballot book, it is a little bit daunting. And so be prepared, and I think all your votes matter. I know sometimes I've had some people say, what do you think about this measure? I just usually leave all those things blank. Well, there's enough education out there that you don't have to leave them blank. You just have to spend some time going through each measure. So I would recommend that you do that. And Halloween was great. I'm so looking forward to tomorrow. It's hard to believe. In some ways, it seems like it's been forever. And then in others, it's like, oh my gosh, it's finally, it's here now, and we're going to celebrate this, and we're going to have eventually a really nice facility, a library facility. And our Veterans Memorial, I went out to see it, and Kathy, the smooth surface is on, and the words look beautiful. The lettering is beautiful. I think it's something that our residents and city can be very proud of. And then it was interesting at the Halloween carnival, just walking, because you had to walk a long way from where I parked, unless you were Mr. Chavez, who found a spot very close. But I was listening to people just talk, and they were with kids, and so many of the comments I heard were, what a lovely community this is. Because a lot of people come with friends from outside, and just what a lovely community this is, how, great Temple City is. And, it's just very heartening to listen to those comments. And then as I got closer to the park, there were some comments that this has been forever, this walking path. And so you take the good with the bad, but I think the general consensus that this is a place where people want to be, and I couldn't be prouder representing it. And that's about it.
Great. Thank you. I want to echo the sentiment of my fellow council members, in particular the library. I want to thank everyone for your effort, in particular Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist. It's been a long time coming. I know you worked very, very hard on the Library Commission. I think I wish we all have enough time, but those of us who couldn't, we really thank you for taking the time, and Councilmember Fish and reaching out to the county. Unfortunately, I won't be there tomorrow. Unfortunately, I have some other county business I need to deal with. But I at least in this open mic and on TV, I want to thank Supervisor Antonovich and his Chief of Staff, Catherine Parker, for helping us out. And as you know, the supervisor's terming out, so this is one of the few chances that we have to pass this, and they brought it forth before the full supervisor Board of Supervisors, and that was passed, a couple of weeks ago. So we really want to thank them for getting that done before Supervisor Panovich leaves office. So, thank you, so enjoy. Yeah. So. With that, we go to the next item, reimbursements of expenses of city officials. There is none. And lastly, additional public comments. Yes. This is Jim Macy.
Good evening, Mayor, you and council members. I'm Jerry Jambazian. I'm excited tomorrow about the event at the library. Just to allay your fears, I'm going to try to videotape it for you, so in case you miss any part of it, you'll see it, okay?
All right.
Excellent.
Thank
Good.
you. Appreciate it. So with that, I'll close public comments, and meeting is adjourned.